Hi, do you know who Mitski is? Yes, you do. Nobody, Washing Machine Heart, Me and My Husband, My Love, Mine, All Mine, I Bet on Losing Dogs, I Want You, Strawberry Blonde?
Look at you, strawberry cow.
Not that. Do you want to get into Mitski? Lucky for you, I am just the person for that. Whether you're here because I happen to pop up in your YouTube recommended, you're an avid Mitski listener, or you want to get more into Mitski just because of the new album coming up, this video can surely help you get into Mitski in a non-scary, non-daunting way. Although her discography isn't the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life, it's still a little weird to dive into an artist that you don't really know very well, and especially one that isn't doing your traditional pop. Today we'll explore what I think is the easiest, least shocking way to get into Mitski, and also my secret ploy to get everyone into Mitski. This is only my personal opinions and not compelled of any extensive research other than my years of excessive Mitski listening and the few people I forced to listen to Mitski. I also don't recommend doing this entire thing in one sitting unless you're already well versed in Mitski or if you're just following along for fun. I would take time and listen through each album maybe even twice just so you get more of a feel. I've gone from hating songs to loving them overnight like I did with I'm Your Man, but not Eric. You can never make me like Eric. But first, I must present to you my credentials. Anyways, in this video, we're going to start with one album, and once you have finished listening to the album, you are going to be prompted with a choice on where to move next. These choices will be based off of what you liked from the first album. Before you listen to each album, I'll give a brief synopsis of the album, what order it is in her discography, kind of if it has a different sound than everything else, and I will also be giving my opinions on it. Once you finish listening through the album, you'll have another choice to make at the end of that album section. This is not meant to take you through every single album on Mitski's discography, it is simply meant to get you a start and kind of find the sound that you personally like. Once you've reached the end of my track, you're more than welcome to restart the video and go on the opposite track that you originally started on, or you can just listen to whatever album you want by yourself. To make it a bit easier to find things, because they're going to be going in an order that might not be the order that you have personally gone through, I'll be leaving timestamps in the caption. Just start downloading or adding to library the songs that you like so you can look back on them and re-listen them, because that is going to matter for your next choice. Be the Cowboy. Released in August of 2018, her fifth studio album did very, very well. It gained her first appearance on the Billboard 200, very good scores from critics, and even earned its spot as being named one of the best albums of 2018 from numerous end-of-year lists. My recommendation is to start with Be the Cowboy because it's the least out there in terms of Mitski music. It also has the highest number of songs that have gotten popular on TikTok, meaning you are going to recognize a good percent of them. I think having songs that you've probably heard before in an album makes it less daunting to start out with a new artist when you realize that you already kind of know some of their music. My personal favorite off of Be the Cowboy is Old Friend. Start off by listening to this album, and then once you're done, come back and I will have the two options for you based on your listening experience. So now that you've listened through Be the Cowboy, I have two options for you. If you found yourself liking songs more like Washing Machine Heart, Why Don't You Stop Me, Me and My Husband, and Lonesome Love, I would move on an album up to Laurel Hell. This moves you into a more pop-like sound rather than your traditional indie rock, but don't worry, it is still alternative. But if you liked more things like Remember My Name, Pink in the Night, Geyser, Blue Light, and Nobody, I would move back an album to Puberty 2. This goes more down the indie rock pathway and will bring you further back into her older stuff if you choose to stay on that path. If you can't pick one, go to Laurel Hell. Laurel Hell. Released in February of 2022 after a long Mitski drought, I bring you her sixth studio album, Laurel Hell. Laurel Hell was a huge album for Mitski and marked her highest charting album yet. Laurel Hell is traditionally the most hated on by Mitski fans, and I'm not really sure why, because personally it is a no-skip album and a favorite. But I wouldn't let that scare you, it's definitely more of a joke than an actual criticism at this point. This album sounds a bit different than the rest of her albums. It's the most unique in terms of sounds, I would say. From Laurel Hell, there's a few songs you might know. Now, I might be incorrect. These are just the ones I feel like I've actually seen on TikTok, and those are Stay Soft and Love Me More. I've heard Love Me More in Panera more than I think I've listened to it myself, so I'm almost certain you've probably heard that one. My favorite song off this album is by far That's Our Lamp, the closer. Don't worry, if this album doesn't end up being your cup of tea and you wish you went the other way, you'll have the choice to go back after this. Once you finish listening to this album, if you say you liked Laurel Hell better than you did Be the Cowboy, move up another album to The Land is Inhospitable and So Are We. If you liked Be the Cowboy better, go ahead and move back into the other path, which is Puberty 2. If you are coming here from Puberty 2, no matter what, move on to The Land is Inhospitable and So Are We. Don't go back. Puberty 2. Released in June of 2016, Mitski released her fourth studio album, Puberty 2. This album received good ratings by critics, but wasn't overwhelmingly popular. A song you might recognize from this album is I Bet on Losing Dogs. My personal favorite song off this album is Fireworks, and just like last time, you will listen to this album, and after you are done, I will have a choice for you to make. After listening to this album, if you liked Be the Cowboy more, I would go to Laurel Hell. If you liked Puberty 2 more than Be the Cowboy, keep moving back into Bury Me at Makeout Creek. If you are coming from Laurel Hell, no matter what, move to Bury Me at Makeout Creek. The Land is Inhospitable and So Are We. Released in September of 2023, Mitski's seventh studio album contains Mitski's most popular song ever, My Love, Mine All Mine. This album has a definitely calmer, folkier vibe to it, and it's a very vast change from I Feel Like Be the Cowboy and even Laurel Hell. This album also features a 17-person choir and a full orchestra. I will say, jump scare warning for Bug Like an Angel. My favorite song from this album is by far Buffalo Replaced, but When Memories Snow is pretty far up there as well. After this album, if you found yourself wanting that more traditional, sad, piano-y songs, to move all the way back to her second album, Retired from Sad, New Career in Business. If you want more of that frustration, anger, I would go back to her very first album, Lush. The album has a lot of piano as well, but I definitely think you get that more of that loud anger part of it. I don't think you can really go wrong either way you can go. If you can't pick, I would probably say Retired from Sad. Bury Me at Makeout Creek. Mitski's third studio album, and in my opinion, her most iconic album, Bury Me at Makeout Creek houses two of Mitski's most popular songs, First Love, Late Spring, and Francis Forever. Released in 2018, this was Mitski's first album that was not a student project and pulled away from that heavy piano and classical training that she had when she learned how to play guitar. My favorite song from this album is Townie. After this album, if you found yourself wanting that more traditional, sad, piano-y songs, to move all the way back to her second album, Retired from Sad, New Career in Business. If you want more of that frustration, anger, I would go back to her very first album, Lush. That album has a lot of piano as well, but I definitely think you get that more of that loud anger part of it. I don't think you can really go wrong either way you can go. If you can't pick, I would probably say Retired from Sad. Retired from Sad, New Career in Business. This is Mitski's second album and second student project. Retired from Sad, New Career in Business was recorded in 2013 as her senior project, featuring a 60-piece student orchestra. This album is commonly just referred to as Retired from Sad. This is where that Strawberry Blonde song came from, which got really popular in 2020 TikTok. Retired from Sad houses one of the Mitski songs that was also very popular in 2020, and I think even now, and that song is I Want You. I kind of forget that one is on this album, and I kind of forgot about it until this very moment. My personal favorite song from this album is Square, which I listened to over 200 times in 2024. This is the last album that I have for you to listen to guidedly, but stick around to the end for my closing statements. Lush. Recorded in 2012, this is Mitski's first ever album and her junior year project. You have probably heard the song Liquid Smooth. Lush might be my least favorite album out of them, just because it's definitely a very new and not as mature sound as the now Mitski is. It's definitely still worth a listen. One of my favorite songs, I think it's ranked 26th, is Real Men, which I'm realizing is a lot more middle ground than I thought it was, but in my soul, Real Men is one of my favorite songs by Mitski. For context, I've taken a liberty of ranking every single Mitski song. This is the last album that I have for you to listen to guidedly, but stick around to the end for my closing statements. You have reached the end of my weird Mitski flowchart. Now, obviously, like stated earlier, this wasn't meant to hit every single album in every single perfect order for every person. It was more meant to get you to break down the discography and find what you like and don't like, and not get you scared off that Mitski isn't your thing. If you want to keep looking into Mitski, I recommend starting at the beginning of this video and going down the opposite path, or you could just pick an album and listen to it. I definitely think you should listen to Bury Me at Makeout Creek. If you haven't, that is my absolute favorite Mitski album, and it's her most iconic album, and I think the world needs to know it exists. If you're happy with what you have for now, go ahead and stick with those for a while, and then eventually branch out into the rest of her discography. Mitski has a new album coming February 27th. I definitely recommend giving it a listen, and it has a single out right now called Where's My Phone, which definitely has heavy, Puberty 2, Bury Me at Makeout Creek vibes. I got a signed vinyl. I'm so excited. I've personally been listening to it nonstop. I'll probably listen to it while I edit this video. I always recommend going back through the entire album and songs you didn't really like the first listen to, maybe even a couple months later. There's been songs that I just hated and then one day woke up and was like, I can't stop listening to this. Mitski is definitely not the easiest to get a first listen on, and sometimes it needs to just incubate for a couple weeks. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a shorter one, and it's really just to get something out there before I go back to college. I'm trying to work on a Pokemon more anthropologic video essay, but again, I'm a college student. But if you enjoyed this video or I helped you get into Mitski, be sure to let me know in the comments, and let me know your favorite song from every album you listen to because I'm always curious. Thank you for watching, and I hope you like Mitski just as much as I do now.